Matt Mayoko back here on my YouTube channel. Please be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and comment, and I'll try to answer as many comments or respond to as many comments as possible. Okay, so it's Sunday, week one of the regular season. The big news as we wake up here on the West Coast, the Cowboys and Dak Prescott agreed to a new contract that will pay him $60 million per season. So what does that mean for Brock Purdy? Well, it means that throughout this offseason and training camp specifically, what I've been hearing was that it didn't seem likely, talking to NFL agents, it didn't seem likely that the Cowboys and Prescott were going to get that deal done. So he would have had the potential of hitting the free agent market in the offseason in March when free agency begins. At that point, he would have been looking at a $65 million a year contract. And then the thought was at some point after that, Purdy will get his deal done with the 49ers. And obviously the Purdy deal is something the 49ers don't want dragging out throughout the offseason. They want Brock Purdy on the field, in the building, the first time the team meets. So where does Purdy stand? Well, I mean, a lot of it will have to do with how he performs this season, but certainly whenever a quarterback like Prescott signs for $60 million before one season, and then there's another full season, the price tag, salary cap, everything will be rising. So we'll see how that is taken into account when it comes to Brock Purdy's new contract. Now, the point that I've always tried to make, or at least recently I've tried to make with Brock Purdy's deal, is that the big money will not kick in the 2025 season. So the 49ers will not be hamstrung as far as the salary cap early on. That means they can keep their pieces together for a couple years before that big money starts to cycle through and they have to make some decisions. So that's why I don't think that this is a last dance, last chance, all or nothing season for the 49ers, because they will be able to keep the team together. Also, if Brock Purdy earns a contract in that $60 million a year range, it means that the 49ers have themselves a really good player. And I think we all know he's a really good player. But if he goes out and proves it again this year with another season similar to what he had last year, then the 49ers organization will be in good shape for as long as Brock Purdy is their quarterback. Okay, a couple things about the roster for the 49ers as they get prepared to play this game Monday night against the Jets is they will have to make a roster space available for Trent Williams. He is on the reserve did not report list, even though he reported on Monday. The NFL granted an exemption so that they could carry 54 players on their 53-man roster until they made that decision when to bring Trent Williams up. So Trent Williams will be activated for the game tomorrow. That has to take place by 1 p.m. Pacific. Right now, the 49ers have 10 offensive linemen on their team. More than likely, they'll release one of those offensive linemen. Whether they bring that person back to the practice squad, that remains to be seen. Their late add to the 53-man roster was Brandon Parker, the veteran who played a few years with the Raiders. He would be the fourth offensive tackle behind, of course, Trent Williams, Colton McKivitz, and Jalen Moore. So he would be a candidate for, at least, he would be a candidate as well as who else? The three backup interior linemen are Nick Zakel, Spencer Burford, and Ben Barch. So we'll see what they do there. Now, NFL rules are that 48 players can suit up for games. Actually, 49 if you count the third quarterback. The third quarterback is Josh Dobbs. And Kyle Shanahan talked a couple days ago about just how difficult of a decision it was to go with Brandon Allen over Josh Dobbs. He just felt that Brandon Allen was ahead of Dobbs and more similar to Brock Purdy stylistically. So if they had to go to a backup quarterback, they wouldn't have to change much around. It would just be plug and play with Brandon Allen. So Josh Dobbs is allowed to suit up as the 49th player on the team, but he can only get into a game if something bad were to happen to Purdy and Brandon Allen. Okay, so 53 players, the 49ers are allowed to bring up 2 from the practice squad. And I think because of the injuries to Talanoa Hufanga, and who else? Hufanga at safety. Oh, and also defensive end, Yetur Gross-Matos. I think probably what the 49ers will do is, at least I'm projecting right now, more than 24 hours before the game, that they would bring up two guys from the practice squad to fill in or to serve as backups in place of Yetur Gross-Matos. In my mind, that would be Sam Okawanu, defensive end who made the initial 53-man, was released a day later. So look for Sam Okawanu, and I think the veteran Tracy Walker from the Lions has a lot of experience, special teams, and playing safety. I think those two would be the guys up from the practice squad. So what does that mean for the 8 inactive players? It would be Josh Dobbs, Yetur Gross-Matos, D. Winters. Gross-Matos and D. Winters have already been ruled out. Hufanga is doubtful for this game. So it looks like George Odom and Jair Brown will be the starting safeties. I know I haven't mentioned Jair Brown much, but he's solid. He's a given. He's a starter. And so the only reason I haven't mentioned him in previous videos is because there's no reason. I just didn't think that he was in question or doubt as far as being a starter. I think probably one of the wide receivers, Ronnie Bell, would probably be an inactive, and then maybe I don't know exactly how the offensive line depth chart factors out, but I would say probably if Barch or Burford would be one of the inactives, and then another offensive lineman, maybe Parker. It just depends on how the 49ers decide to work, first off the 53-man, making room for Trent Williams, and then what they do on game day. And then also probably Isaac Garindo, the rookie running back. Patrick Taylor Jr. is one of the running backs on the roster. He has a history of playing special teams. Garindo's value really is on kickoff returns. And I don't think the kickoff return is going to be an issue. I don't think it's going to be. I think what the NFL did with the new kickoff rule, the dynamic kickoff rule, they were trying to bring the kickoff back into the game. I think they further legislated it out of the game. The tipping point was the Super Bowl, where all 13 kickoffs were touchbacks. But under this new rule, I think it incentivizes the kicking team to have more kickoffs as touchbacks than ever before. We saw it in the first 2 games of the NFL season. 19 of the 23 kickoffs were touchbacks. 2 of those touchbacks were kicks on which the return team returned the ball deep out of the end zone and didn't even make it to the 25-yard line. So the new kickoff rule is if it's a touchback, you put the ball on the 30-yard line. That's where the offense starts. Last year was the 25. But also during the preseason, what we saw in Garindo is probably partly to blame for this. He had a long kickoff return. And so I think kicking teams are just saying, hey, we'll give you the ball on the 30-yard line every time to start. We don't want to take the risk of giving up a long kickoff return. And I think why it's more easy now to have a touchback is because the kicker doesn't have to worry about hang time, because the blockers and the return team can't move until the ball is touched. The kicker can just drive it as deep as he can without fearing that if the ball is returned, the coverage unit doesn't have time to get down there. So I think there will be, unless the NFL decides to do something, I think there will be more touchbacks than ever before. And last year there were more touchbacks than ever before by a long margin. So I do think that, again, I don't know what jurisdiction they have to change a rule, but remember, Jed York was one of the 3 NFL owners. I think the Packers, the Raiders, and the 49ers were the 3 teams that voted against this kickoff rule. And Jed York's rationale was, why not have it more on a trial basis where they can make changes? Because I think initially they were saying this is the way it's going to be. It's solid for a year. And he just felt like there were going to be unseen consequences with the kickoff rule. And it appears as if that is the case, that teams will opt to just kick it through the end zone. And Kyle Shanahan pretty much said as much when I asked him about that on Saturday. But that is something I'll definitely be watching today as a full slate or near a full slate of NFL games. There was one game on Thursday, one game on Friday, and of course the Monday night game. So be able to watch a lot of football today. And I hope you enjoy your day. We'll be back with you very shortly. And again, please subscribe, leave a comment, like this video, and we'll see if we can grow this thing.